Welcome back to the channel. I'm Lauren Fix. Today we have the 2021 Ford Mustang Mach-E. We have the GT and the GT Performance. Now there's two different performance levels and there's a few other changes. We drive both of them up through the mountains and an autocross, and you're going to join us for a ride. Let's get started with a walk around on some of the differences between the Mach-E and the Mach-E GT, and they're quite impressive, and you can see why this vehicle handles and performs at a much higher level than just the regular Mach-E. The first thing you're going to notice is when you have the key in your hand or you're using your phone as the key, and that's what we're using in this particular case, when you approach the vehicle, this Mustang running horse illuminates, and that's really cool. You'll notice that same muscular Mach-E hood all the way across the way, but then you see this more aggressive splitter down here, and it also has active shutters, and that makes a big difference. There are two different powertrains on the regular GT. It's 480 horsepower, but it has 600 pound-feet of torque. When you go to the performance model, it is 480 horsepower as well, but it's 634 pound-feet of torque on this all-electric powertrain. Now, what's interesting about this, the Performance Edition also recalibrates the motor and delivers an extra 34 pound-feet of torque. 0 to 60 times on the regular Mach-E GT is 3.8 seconds. For the Performance version, 3.5 seconds. Estimated range in the GT, 270 miles, 260 miles on the Performance Edition. Both of the GT versions run on 20-inch alloy wheels that are 8 inches wide. The Continentals are the all-season tire that would be on the GT, and on the performance level, you get the Pirelli summer tire, and in that case, that stops with bigger Brembo brakes, but both of them offer the red calipered Brembo brakes. When you're looking at the profile of this vehicle, it looks like a Mustang. It is a Mach-E, and then it does have the Mach-E GT logos. Optional glass panoramic roof, which this particular vehicle doesn't have, but the other vehicle we drove did have. So I got a chance to drive with and without that panoramic roof. And it is a pretty nice sized roof, and it is a fixed roof. Just like in the Mach-E, there is a frunk, which is a front trunk, and that is a term that's actually been put together by Tesla. It is a big storage area that has a drain, great for just storing your things because there's no engine in the front. Opening the door is as simple as pressing that button and opening the door. Inside, the Mach-E GT looks the same as it does in the regular Mach-E. The seats are more performance-oriented, and the space and cargo is exactly the same. Coming around to the back on the Mach-E GT, you're going to see the sequential taillights like you would see in the Mustang as well as on the Mach-E. For cargo, you got 59.7 cubic feet of storage. The rear seats fold down, 60-40 split to get all the cargo that you need. Underneath this cargo cover is your charger for when you're on the road and a tire inflation product. So as we head up into the mountains here in Sausalito, just north of San Francisco, it is beautiful weather, of course. The roads are in pretty good condition, and remember, if the roads are rougher, it's going to take up a little bit more energy. But the whole design of this vehicle was to give you that performance drive, to convert you from driving gasoline-powered performance cars to electric performance cars. So I'll keep my personal opinions to myself on what I would like, but I'm going to let you know what the experience is like. So this is the top performance model. There is also the GT. Now, the one thing about this vehicle right away is it was designed by people that were performance car people. It handles really nicely, but again, this was designed as very tight suspension, which I like. We're going through some city areas. It's 20 miles an hour, so I have to crawl. This vehicle doesn't want to crawl. It's an Unbridled, which is the most aggressive mode. There's also a whisper mode and an engage mode, which is the middle of the road. The Unbridled Extended is your top performance mode, which is obviously going to use up more battery power. So obviously in the higher performance modes, you're going to use up more battery power quicker because it's the same thing as you would if it was gasoline. We'll get to try the Unbridled Extend mode, which will shut off a lot of the nannies, including the traction control, and really designed for the track, not designed for the street. The Unbridled Extend is designed for the track. Everything becomes more aggressive, the steering becomes tighter, but remember that this is really designed for a spirited drive, maybe at a track event. Now, one of the things you'll probably be saying to yourself, okay, have you converted me? I'm not even going to say the word, because anyone that knows me knows that I appreciate all types of vehicles, I respect all types of vehicles, but I have certain personal favorites, and that's fine. You're allowed to have your personal favorite. One of the things to keep in mind is that there is a full charging network of places, but most people are charging at home. And Ford does have a package you can purchase that allows you to get the charging station at home. And you can buy that either from Blink or from Ford, or if you've got one, or if you've got a charging station nearby. They're working with Electrify America, and of course you're going to have that in your app. Remember, you can use up to 90% of the battery power in the performance and the higher unbridled modes, but for most electric cars you can only use up to 80% of the battery. They don't want to run it down to dead because you've got other things that run on battery power. My first thoughts are, from a performance standpoint, this doesn't drive like your typical SUV. And of course, it competes with Tesla and Volkswagen and everybody else that's got an electric vehicle on the marketplace, which is pretty much everybody. And it's not even in the same price point as like a Porsche Taycan, which is a whole nother animal in itself. But as far as this vehicle and how it stands, first thing, performance-wise in the performance model, I'm pretty impressed with how quick it kicks in, and it's still extremely drivable in the unbridled mode as just driving around every day. Now, we have driven the Mach-E before. You want to check out that review up there. And it actually won North American Utility of the Year. Once you drive it, you'll realize it's a different experience. I'm still against using the name Mustang. You can call it Mach-E all day long. I'm totally fine with that. I just don't like them using the name Mustang because there's so much brand value in what Mustang is. It is not an SUV, it is a car. And as someone who collects those cars, I like to burn dinosaurs. That is a whole different animal. And let's hope and pray that Ford doesn't convert the Mustang car into an electric vehicle. I know that everyone says they're making the transition, but there still needs to be options for those people that don't necessarily want that. So when you're talking about handling, you can feel that the handling is much tighter in this car than it is in the other vehicles, and we've done some auto crossing to prove this vehicle can handle. The MagneRide dampening system really performs as stated. It has more torque, better grip, better handling than the regular Mach-E. And of course, with the different drive modes, that changes not just the handling, but also the whole feel of the vehicle in itself. The performance model rides on Pirelli summer tires, 245/45/20s. Those are 20-inch alloys that are 8 inches wide, so you're getting more tire down on the ground. If you buy the regular GT and not the performance trim level, you'll get the same size tire, but it will be an all-season Pirelli tire. And in case you're wondering, the weight of this vehicle is 4,587 pounds. And it stops with some red painted Brembo brake calipers, and the Performance Edition has bigger brakes. This vehicle rides about 10 millimeters lower than the regular Mach-E. That lowers your center of gravity, which is going to give you flatter cornering and better handling. There's almost 20,000 charging stations across the United States, so if you decide that you want to map out your ride, you can go through the Ford app and it'll set up all the places for you to stop, and it'll let you know if there's any charging stations that have problems, and all that is part of what pretty much every electric vehicle is offering, places for you to charge. Instead of telling you where gas stations are, it's telling you where charging stations are, except sadly it doesn't take 7 minutes to fill this up. This does take some time, so bring a book with you, or go get lunch, or go to the bathroom, or call a friend, whatever it might be, you'll be doing in between. And I find that to be the only negative right now for electric cars, is that you can't charge fast enough and people are impatient. So I find that to be an issue, and if you get to a charging station and it's busy, that can be frustrating as well. But as far as the vehicle itself, forget the charging stations. You charge at home. That's easy. As far as mileage range, it's 270 miles of range on the Mach-E GT, 260 miles for the performance trim level, but again, it's about performance, just like fuel economy. It drops when you buy those big motors. When you're looking at visibility for this vehicle, you have a very large front windshield. The sills are a bit high, but looking out the back, you have pretty good visibility, and you have a backup camera that is an around view camera. Woo! This could be fun. You can get in a lot of trouble. As far as acceleration on an on-ramp, this is no different than that of a gasoline vehicle. It responds very quickly. There's no turbo lag, and that is appreciated. Not that there would be, because this is an electric vehicle and there's two motors, one in the front, one in the back. So when you put your foot in it, it instantly responds. There's no delay like you would have on a turbocharged car. But one of the things to note is that this vehicle is designed to be more performance oriented than the Mach-E. Now we're going to head into some twisty roads and see how nice and flat this vehicle handles. I like the small screen in front of you. It gives you that more comfortable feeling. You've got information that you would have in any vehicle. Your speed, your drive mode, your navigation, all that information that could be in a head-up display or in gauges. This vehicle does a pretty good job of absorbing some of the bumps and divots that are in this road. They're not perfect, but they're certainly nicer roads than we have in New York State. And one of the things you note right away is that the brakes engage immediately. Part of that is the regeneration of the brakes. So when you step on the brake pedal, it's going to help charge the battery. They call that regen. So it regenerates that energy. And how that works, just in case you're curious, I'll just give you the nutshell basic version of it. When you step on the brakes of any vehicle, you create frictional heat. That's the brake pads rubbing up against the rotors, sort of like the same thing as your hands rubbing together. That heat is energy, and that energy can be used and captured to help keep a charge on the battery. It's not a lot, but that energy can help save you a mile or two, and it all adds up. There are a lot of electric vehicles on the roads in California, and there's a lot of incentives here to get you into these vehicles. But keep in mind that General Motors and Tesla are no longer eligible to give you that $7,500 tax credit. Ford is still an eligible vehicle, so you would get that. And if you're living in California or other states, there could be $2,000 or more on top of that, and that adds up quickly. Your company might offer a discount. There's also all kinds of other incentives. Remember, you're not getting a check. These are tax credits based on how much you make. So keep that in mind. The front end of this Mach-E GT has an illuminated running horse that looks like it belongs on a Mustang. I'm actually okay with that. And they illuminated it to make it stand out in a crowd, to make it a talking point. And I think they did a great job with the design element such as that and the GT logo and a lot of the design features that are on this vehicle. Now, one thing I wanted to address is that the front end of this vehicle looks like it's a vehicle. The front end of some of the vehicles, like a Tesla, they look like Dementors. Now, if you're a Harry Potter fan, you're laughing. If you don't know what the Harry Potter Dementor looks like, they're soul suckers. That's something that, for me, I just don't think these vehicles should be faceless. We're all used to a vehicle that has a personality, and part of that is the front end look of that vehicle. And having nothing in front of them, just a smooth front, which a lot of these electric vehicles have, just make them boring. They make them look like appliances. This vehicle does not look like an appliance. And that is why Ford has gotten so many sales. They're sold out for 2021. Their GT models are sold out like that, of course. And I'm sure their 22s are going to sell out well before the beginning of 2022 because people want these vehicles. They want something different. And they're telling us, Ford internals are telling us, that these are not their usual Mustang buyers. These are people coming from other brands. As we handle through these curvy roads, this vehicle handles pretty flat, a little bit of body roll, but certainly not what you'd expect in an SUV. It doesn't handle like a Mustang, but it does handle a lot better than most SUVs on the road. And it's really got good contact patch. You can feel the tires gripping the roadway. The handling is very specific and precise. Behind us here is the brakes. Wow, that's pretty good. So the brakes are good. They're Brembos. You can't expect anything less than quality brakes there. I do like their products. As far as audio system, this big, gigantic screen in the center is not unusual when it comes to electric vehicles. Bang & Olufsen audio system is in this vehicle, and the audio quality is quite impressive, and it's well balanced for this vehicle as well. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto are standard. Wi-Fi is all included, and tons of charging ports, including wireless charging and cabled charging. As far as seating, the performance model has a more bolstered seating. and it's pretty comfortable. This Grabber Blue is one of the 2 launch edition colors. The other one is an orange that looks very much like Grabber Orange from the 70s, but that's all part of making this vehicle sort of fit in with the family of Mustang products. And even though this is an SUV, you don't even want to get into my opinion of calling this a Mustang. To me, this is a Mach-E, and it deserves that title. Mustang, whole nother story, and that will save for another time, or you can watch my Mach-E review that I've done before. But as far as this vehicle, it was a blast to drive. It had a ton of power. It handled really well, not just on the autocross course, but also on the street. We went through a lot of the S's all the way up into the hills, and then all the way back down through the redwood forest. And this vehicle performed well. I used the 1-pedal drive on this vehicle coming back, and I used regular performance without the 1-pedal drive on the way out. And I have to say, both were a lot of fun and a completely different experience. Is this a performance SUV? Yes, it is. And does it compete? It competes with a lot of vehicles, not just the gasoline-powered vehicles, but other electric vehicles. The one thing to note is its vehicle starts in the GT at $59,000, and for the GT Performance it's $64,000. Our test vehicle on the Performance came out to be $68,000. This one came out to be $62,000. It all depends on the options that you want, but safety is standard. The Bang & Olufsen system is absolutely worth looking at, and there are a ton of other colors to choose from and different interiors. The seats in the regular GT are different than that of the Performance. Of course, I like the ones with the Performance, but thankfully both sides of both types have lumbar, and that I do appreciate. As far as the positives, great car, fun to drive. On the negative side, I'm not really personally sold on electric vehicles yet, although Ford believes this will sell a lot of people, and I'm sure it will. It is a 3-year, 36,000-mile warranty, and I am curious what your opinion is. Is this a Mustang to you? Put that in the comments down below. Or if you're saying, you know what, I'm looking at this is an interesting choice as an electric vehicle. We've reviewed a lot of electric vehicles on our channel, including the Mach-E and the VW ID4, but I have to say this one was a lot of fun, and there'll be a lot more fun vehicles coming our way, including the Taycan and some other vehicles that you might be interested in. Again, the more exciting and the more expensive, and there'll be a lot of more reasonable vehicles like the Bolt EUV, which we've recently reviewed. Now, one of the things you need to know before you buy an electric vehicle is, 1, check your insurance rates. It's more expensive to insure an electric car. 2, find out what a charging station is going to cost to be installed in your vehicle, or if there's a charging station nearby. Check your payments on top of that. Cost of ownership is not free. Remember that there are still moving parts and there are still other fluids in this vehicle that need to be repaired and replaced. So nothing on the road today is maintenance free, no matter what that salesperson is telling you. If you got value from this video, make sure to like it and subscribe for more videos like this. Our channel covers both English and Spanish content. It's called CarCoachReports.com. I also co-host a podcast called Total Car Score. It's on all platforms, and we go behind the scenes and talk to the people that make the industry tick so that you know what's going on and how it's going to impact the vehicles you're going to be driving down the road. Follow me on all forms of social media at Lauren Fix, and remember one thing, don't forget, don't pay retail. And remember, the dealer's job is to sell you on that vehicle, and our job is to give you car smarts. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.